They are all living in Qatar with a billionaire lifestyle. Where are they getting all of that money? They're getting all that money because they're stealing all of the aid that is coming to the Palestinian people.
You know, if what's happening in Gaza right now is a massacre, then who's responsible?
We are simply against apartheid, genocide, ethnic cleansing, whoever is perpetrating it and whoever is being a victim of it.
As of 2 days ago, 25,000 Palestinians were killed.
Listen, there were 2 million Germans killed in that conflict. Are you saying that that means that the Germans were right and the Brits were wrong based on head count? As an American, I grow increasingly appalled at the anti-Semitism permeating so much of our country, especially by so many students at our elite universities, which have become left liberal woke hotbeds, fostering intellectual rot rather than critical thinking. Harvard and MIT and others receive hundreds of millions of dollars in foreign funding, including from China. Who do you answer to? Hannah is a Jewish student at Southern Methodist University near Dallas who says the level of anti-Semitism at her school is nothing like she has ever seen. I want to hear your experience in just a moment. We've been talking about something here. What do you have to say about what these two are saying?
You know, honestly, I see actually that she's sincere in what she's perceiving, what they are perceiving. And this is why the reality is very complicated. And the question, do we see things for what they are? Because she mentioned so many massacres. Now the question, how do they originate? You know, if what's happening in Gaza right now is a massacre, then who's responsible for this massacre? And how many times they have done it? Because this is what, the 5th war in Gaza? Every time Hamas used Gazans as human shields and they achieved their goals, to make the world condemn Israel and to gain power and wealth, money after every war. So it worked for them the first war, then it worked the second, the third war, and this time they thought they could double down by taking more hostages and by causing a lot more death, thinking that this is going to give them more legitimacy. This is their game. I invite all the pro-Palestine people, you know, to actually see things for what they are. If Hamas think for a moment that the West, at least, does not support them, their lifespan would be a lot shorter. Those are the true enemies of the Palestinian children. And I speak on behalf of the Palestinian children because I am one of them, and I lived the pain of the Palestinian children. So don't think for a moment that it does not break my heart to see all that. But now I cannot be emotional about the death of the children. I can only be angry against the cause that led to the death of those children.
Within the context of this conversation and given your upbringing and your identity and who you're related to, it would make sense that your perspective would be related to Hamas. Hamas, however, is not the end-all be-all of Palestinian militant groups or resistance. In fact, Gaza is only a portion of Palestine. In fact, centering Hamas in this movement is detrimental to both me and you. We are simply against apartheid, genocide, ethnic cleansing, whoever is perpetrating it and whoever is being a victim of it. So when this conversation gets misconstrued, it's very frustrating because then we also have to preemptively condemn anti-Semitism, and we are vehemently against anti-Semitism. We know that all forms of hatred exist within the same plane of white supremacy and power structures. We believe that liberation for us means liberation for all. So to be pitted against each other, as we have in a lot of this discourse, is very frustrating and also misrepresentative of exactly what we're about.
Well, since you're getting to say your point of view, how do you keep saying it's misrepresented? The fact that I don't agree with it and you say apartheid, I don't agree with that.
Why don't you agree with facts?
I do agree with facts. I don't agree with your spin on reality.
So how...
And I'm curious, you say freedom for all.
I do.
And that there's no anti-Semitism among your heart and what you say, and I look you in the eye and I actually believe that. But I don't think that's what you experience on campus all the time from everybody involved, is it?
I have had people who have come up to me and told me that Israel does not have a right to exist as a country, that it is a colonial entity, which I don't agree with. Jews had nowhere else to go, especially after the Holocaust. And I think referring to the land as a colonial state denies Jews that history to the land and denies Jews the right to live there.
Also joining this conversation is Joseph. He's a student at the University of Texas in Austin who says he decided to support Palestine when the U.S. government backed Israel in the conflict. Joseph, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me on.
Now, you're concerned that Israel is targeting civilians.
Yes.
You are aware that the IDF made 20,000 calls, dropped 1.5 million leaflets, and sent 4.4 million texts and 6 million voicemails warning Palestinians that they were getting ready to bomb that. That's a very unusual tactic in war, is to tell everybody what you're getting ready to do. But yet they did that. How is that targeting civilians when they warn everybody with 20 million messages, we're getting ready to bomb this area? If you're a civilian, get out.
How are these people who don't have food, water, medical supplies getting these messages or these leaflets whenever the infrastructure to get the leaflets and the messages to them is broken?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because a leaflet is pretty hard to not get when they fly over and drop those leaflets. You don't need much of an infrastructure for that. And they also have provided something that enemies never do, which is food and water and medical supplies and support, which are all stolen by Hamas, who Palestine has elected as their leadership. But they are all living in Qatar with a billionaire lifestyle rather than being in Palestine. But yet, where are they getting all of that money? They're getting all that money because they're stealing all of the aid that is coming to the Palestinian people.
You see, Dr. Phil, they are being stolen, but they're not being stolen. They're being withheld. And you mentioned earlier that, you know, buzzwords are hard to understand because, you know, a lot of people, it's not in their common vocabulary, and they can sometimes misconstrue them. But what you can't construe or misconstrue are numbers. And that being that, as of 2 days ago, 25,000 Palestinians were killed.
Listen, there were 2 million Germans killed in that conflict. Are you saying that that means that the Germans were right and the Brits were wrong based on head count?
Oh, definitely not.
Well, then how does that...
Because
how do you use that as a logic in that there are more people killed in Gaza than in Israel?
Because you're equating Palestinians to Hamas.
I think it's terrible if anybody is killed on either side.
You guys are trying to say that we are calling for the eradication of the Jewish people because we're Muslim, or because that is in our charter and in our belief, and misconstruing our holy book and saying that we're calling for the death of Jews, when we have not once ever said that, and we have openly stated that a liberated, free Palestine means the safety of the Jewish people as well. That is inaccurate, and that is trying to mislabel and misrepresent the Palestinian movement.
That is what Hamas has made very clear. From the river to the sea.
No, from the river to the sea means you have the Jordanian River, the Mediterranean Sea, the land in between is free. Everyone in between is free. I am not going to allow you guys to try and use Hamas's words and say that's my word.
I'm not saying those are your words. I'm saying that Palestine has elected Hamas as their leader.
But see, in the same breath, we're saying that we do not want the Palestinian cause to be associated or to begin and end with Hamas, because Hamas is a creation of Israel, and we know it to be a militant group that's unsustainable.
That's
and has
false.
Yeah, no, it's true.
That's your narrative.
Israeli
That's your
officials
narrative.
have literally said, you know what, you can look it up
false.
after.
That's false. You cannot convince someone who was born in the Hamas leadership.
It's objectively true. If they literally said it themselves.
You can convince everyone else.
Okay.
I am not buying this, and I'm not buying you from the river to the sea.
So we're trying
from the river to the sea is a genocide call against Israel. So please don't sugarcoat it.